Hello, everybody. Hope all is well on this Thursday evening. We have Anthony from Bleacher Bums Gaming joining us. We're going to have a little boxing chat where we're going to talk a little more Glory Days boxing, some old-time fighters, and some upcoming events in boxing. And hopefully this will be an ongoing series between this channel and Bleacher Bums Gaming's channel. So enjoy some boxing talk. We'll go for just under an hour, as Anthony has other obligations. And let me just say, first of all, hello.
Hashtag wife.
Yes, hashtag wife, hashtag happy wife, happy life. Let me say hello to the Cubs, the Bears. Hope all is well. Danny N. Gray's Cards and Toys. Check out that wonderful channel. Bobby Cantilano and W. Vogs. That's Will from W. Vogs, another wonderful card collecting channel. And the original Grognard for all things military strategy and much, much more, such as his Women's Wrestling League using Face to the Mat. Sports Time Machine, check him out also with Mr. Utah Mike and the camera. What happened was we were ready to go. And then
what happened was
we were ready to go, doing a little pregame, and then Windows decides to update, and I'm like, no, and it shut down my whole computer. You got to love that. It's always lots of fun. Anyway, so Anthony, introduce yourself. Thank you very much for being here.
and Anthony from Bleacher Bums Gaming and part of the exceptional YouTubing sports genre and other friends of the community now. So just great group of people and happy to get on and talk boxing with Al. We both have an affinity for historical boxing and maybe talk a little bit about Glory Days boxing too, which got a small amount of news or a little bit of news on that, but that's about it.
Awesome. I look forward to it. And that's going to be out as we discussed last week, was it? May of this year. So look forward to that. And do you have any, I know you have an update because I heard on your channel, but would you like to share that in case someone missed that? And you shouldn't be missing that. You should be subscribing to Bleacher Bums Gaming. Awesome channel.
Yeah, the last thing we did on the channel was just do a release of the 100 heavyweights that will be included in the game. And most of the all-time greats, there's a couple of notable guys that didn't make the first release, Sonny Liston and Larry Holmes, probably the two most prominent. Jack Sharkey also, who was heavyweight champion, and some good contenders, young Stribling, who holds the record for most victories by a heavyweight fighter. But there'll be a second supplemental set release down the road that will have them, and also a lot more, tomato cans for opponents. So they'll be released eventually. They just didn't make the cut for the first.
That's okay. You got to have people wanting something more, and once they have an opportunity to play your game, I'm biased. I like the game. I like Anthony. But if the game wasn't good, I'd be honest to Anthony, go with the game. But the game, you know what? I don't have to lie because the game's fabulous. I enjoy it tremendously. So I can't wait to get that box, open it up. The one thing I think I'm gonna get the PDFs too, though, because I like to put it up on my screen so that people can see when I'm doing online. So I think I'm gonna get that too. That's really cool. So,
and I did send the actual first print run went to the printers on Tuesday. So I spoke to them a little bit yesterday, and they're working on it now. So hopefully within a couple of days, I'll have the first card sets back, and then once that's done, I've held off on ordering the other components, the dice, the boxes, kind of stuff. I just wanted to make sure, because the cards are the most important piece, obviously. So I want to make sure they're how I want them to be, and no issues there. And then I'll go ahead and get the rest, and we're definitely on target for an early May release at this point.
Awesome. So again, look forward to that a lot. You don't know how much I'm looking forward to that. I just enjoy the game. It's really cool. It's going to be great. So how did you come up? Because we'll get into a little historical boxing thing. So Holmes and Liston will be in the second package, we'll call it, or I'll say it, I'm not putting words in your mouth, second package of heavyweights or fighters. How did you decide on, or is it just the way it came out, like who missed the cut?
Yeah, I ended up the first release, obviously 100 heavyweights, and I just kept adding guys. And what I would do was go on and look at some of the all-time greats
Yep.
records on Boxing Rec, pick some of their notable opponents, go through the years, look at Ring Magazine top 10, and before that the Police Gazette, and just pick contenders there. And before I knew it, I had like 130 heavyweights. So I just had to trim the fat. And I didn't want it to be all marginal fighters and lower tier fighters that didn't make the cut initially. So those two were just like I guess, the unfortunate champions
That's
that
okay.
didn't make it.
The Cubs the Bear says, great. Been waiting to learn more about the creation of Glory Days boxing. If Chuck Wepner, oh, he's carded. I have his prototype.
The Bayonne Bleacher is
Yeah,
carded.
he
Yeah.
said it should be tinged in red. The Bayonne Bleeder. And Anthony,
he does have a trait that relates to bleeding. So
yes, he does. Yes,
much
he does.
easier to stop him on cuts than other
Yeah.
fighters.
In fact, he did fight Sonny Liston, and you can. I think there's film. I don't want to put words in anyone's. I think I did watch some film footage on YouTube. There's no sound to it, and there's definitely still photos you can find online. Man, did he bludgeon him? I mean, he's just like even Sonny Liston turned to the ref and goes, "You should stop this fight," because I read the like the little articles that went with it. Holy cow! That was just the thought of Wepner fighting Sonny Liston. I mean, Ali obviously was great, the GOAT. Some people, greatest of all times. I prefer Joe Louis, but that's just me. I'm not saying Ali's not not great. I'm just saying I like Joe Louis better. My personal preference. And now you take someone with a sledgehammer jab, which is basically a straight right hand, the way he throws it, against Chuck Wepner, who ate every freaking punch. Oh my God. And he's a bloody mess. He would have given Henry Cooper a run for his money. If you ever see the photo of, or if you have seen it, or look up Chuck Wepner and Sonny Liston, and you'll see that photo. Oh my God. There's blood all over him. You're like, how did he even last? I think it's 6, 7. I don't know how many. It was horrible. And the guy just let the fight go. And Liston actually, you should stop this fight, ref. Guy can't see. So.
Well, and Henry Cooper's also carded, so you can actually do a first blood Cooper versus Wepner match.
Ooh, I like that. I can't believe I didn't think of that. I like that. We can, for the heavyweight bloodbath title, for the vampire. A Vampire's Delight, Cooper and Wepner. And it was funny in the chat when we were doing our wrestling chat with Dave Little and Mr. Utah Mike from Sports Time Machine. He's in the chat. Remember to subscribe. All the wonderful creators in our community, the FOC. I had brought up when Chuck Wepner got in the ring with Andre the Giant, and they thought it was supposed to be a joke. And like he goes, this guy's taking it serious. What do you want me to do in this corner? Hit him. It's like.
I actually went on and watched a video of that, and it looked a little serious at the end.
Yeah, I'm not, because
like Andre was pissed.
He was pissed. And oh God, I saw a thing on Chuck Wepner. It could have been crazy things in sports. It could have been an HBO thing, but then I followed up reading some more about it. Because I kind of remember that. I remember Inoki. We're not going to make a wrestling chat, but I remember Inoki and Ali, and I remember Wepner and Andre the Giant. But I said I don't remember the footage and stuff. I was like, yeah, Andre was pissed. Like he was going to show this boxing guy like what wrestling was about, And Wepner says, I knew.
You see him start, and Webner's kind of just pawing at him a little bit, and Andre starts roughing him up, and then Webner, he gets this look of panic on his face. And at the end, he's teeing off and trying.
Oh yeah, he's hitting him. Webner goes, I knew I was in trouble because I hit him with the best right hand I threw, and the guy just went. I was like, oh no. And his corner guys are like, we better get a chair or something, hit this guy with something. He's gonna kill our fighter. And Wepner is not. I mean, whatever you think of him as a boxer, Wepner is one tough dude. I mean, he was a collector. Yeah, I'm not, supposedly. I'm not saying for sure. You didn't want to meet Chuck Wepner or Mike Rossman in an alley. That's all I'll say, because I'm pretty sure they would have won most of their alley fights, Chuck Wepner and Mike Rossman. It was one of my favorite light heavyweights when I was a kid.
Rossman was the kosher butcher, right? Was his
Yeah.
nickname?
The
Yeah, light
and
heavyweight.
yep, he that fight when he beat Victor Galindez was on the undercard. It was at a big venue, and I might get this mixed up. I want to say it's the rematch with Ali and Spinks in '78. The one he beats Victor Galindez. And Galindez was top notch, one of the best light heavyweights in his day, probably second tier all time, which that's not a knock. I'm just saying he's probably second tier light heavyweight champion. And Mike Rossman, he beat him. He made him quit. He made him.
You want to talk about a great division, the light heavyweight division in the mid to late 70s. You had
Unbelievable.
Rossman, Galindo, Matthew Saad Muhammad, or Matthew Franklin as he was known, Scott, Mike Quarry,
John Conte out of the UK.
John Conte, yeah.
It
was
and the Finnegan. Finnegan was out of the UK. Mike Finnegan. Oh, what the hell was his name? Finnegan. Irish fighter out of the UK.
Kevin Finnegan, right?
Kevin Finnegan, thank you. And Foster is coming to an end. Dwight Muhammad Kwai.
Yeah.
Michael Spinks. Murray Sutherland. I've always felt bad for Murray Sutherland. I liked him. He was a good fighter of Scottish descent, but he was too big for a middleweight. He would try to train down to get to a middleweight, and he was too small for a light heavyweight, and he fought all the best fighters. And by the time they came up with a super middleweight, because that was probably one of the biggest jumps in boxing, middleweight to light heavyweight. I mean, yes, light heavyweight to heavyweight. That wasn't done a lot after a certain point. But, Murray Sutherland basically couldn't get down to 160, right? Couldn't get up to 175. And if you're fighting at light heavyweight at 168, 170, you're at a disadvantage. And I don't even know. They might have city made 170. He probably did. But I remember he fought Michael Spinks. He lost. He fought. Who did he fight twice? I think he fought Spinks twice. He might have went the 10-round distance the first time and then got knocked out the second time. But I think he fought. Okay, you had Matthew Saad Muhammad, and you had Eddie Gregory, who was Matthew.
Eddie Gregory.
Eddie Gregory became Eddie Mustafa Muhammad.
Yeah.
He fought. I think he fought Matt Franklin before he changed his name. Well, Matthew Saad Muhammad. What's the word I'm looking for? Interesting is not the right word. He was abandoned on a street corner as a child. Him and his brother, and they brought him to a nun. Like nuns raised him. Like they brought him to what's it called? The orphanage. Yes, and nuns raised him. He didn't even know. They don't even know that. I think they gave him his name because they found him on Franklin Street because they didn't know he was just abandoned with his brother on the street. And he was one of the best. Marvin Johnson. How could you forget Marvin Johnson? How we could forget. What fights him and Matthew Franklin then into Matthew Saad? Oh my God, what wars they had. And he beat him.
It was a great division, man. Top to bottom.
That was one of the best divisions. And I know there's a guy out of South Africa, but I think he was mid-70s, and he was pretty much done after he fought Bob Foster twice. I can't remember his Pierre. They were all Pierre somethings out of South Africa. Yeah. It's true though. They're all named the same freak, and they all had similar last names. They all started with C's, who I couldn't pronounce their last names.
C's and K's.
I'm like
Kotzer, Knutzer.
Yeah. But yeah, wow. I didn't think we were talking. Now, light heavyweight division was awesome, and then you brought up Scott, and he fought out of the Rahway prison.
Yeah.
What was Scott's first name? I can't. It's escaping me. James Scott. I remember when Dwight Braxton he hadn't changed his name until he won the title when he changed it to Dwight Muhammad Kwai. I remember when he went to Rahway, and he had just come out of prison a few years. Well, he had done a stint in prison for whatever he did. He served his time, got out, never did whatever he did again. Hats off to him. And he went back in there, and he beat him. He beat him in at Ralway. And there was always the talk of what if he had won that fight where they had given Scott a shot at the title. And I think the organization said, no, he won't get a shot at the title. Because that was surreal. I think NBC used to show his fights. And remember, live from Ralway State Crescent. Like, it was surreal.
And it was nuts. Could you imagine that happening now?
No.
Never would.
No. Because he was in for life. He was never he was not coming out. I forgot what he did, and he was not coming out. And that's why
wasn't it manslaughter?
Yeah, and I don't think he was coming out. And again, I don't know the gist of his case. That's not what I'm just saying. It was surreal that they went to fight in Ralway. But Mike Rossman, I remember, I'd have to look it up. I want to say that was on the undercard of the second fight with Ali Spinks, because it was at the Superdome. I'm almost positive when Rossman beat Victor Galindez, it was at the Superdome. And he made Galindez quit. He made him quit. Now, the rematch
was tough, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they complained about he said, oh, I hurt my shoulder. I'm not saying he didn't hurt his shoulder, but the reason why he hurt his shoulder, because Rossman, who actually wasn't a bad boxer. I know if you look at, like, they list him as a slugger and stuff in certain games. He had a nice jab. He kept his even for his slugging, he kept his hands up high. And he did this thing where against Galindez, he'd go to the ropes and Galindez would come in and he'd go bing, bing. And he'd dig one shot to the body, he'd tie him up, and, do the, like, twist him up a bit. And he just out-roughed him. And Galindez was, at the time, the number one light heavyweight. Number one. And he would win the title, lose the title. Again, second tier, of all-time light heavyweights. In fact, if you looked at, I'll just use title bout because of the rating system there.
I'd put ahead of him. I mean, I think you have to start with Archie Moore.
Archie Moore, Bob Foster. Michael Spinks is up there. I mean, he was unbeatable.
Spinks was a light heavy. He was deadly.
Yeah, he was. You weren't beating Michael Spinks at light heavy. And Gene Tunney. I mean, if you want to list Gene, he was, again, a great light heavy. I mean, he gets more. It's funny he never won the light heavyweight championship, though, because
he suffered his only loss at light heavyweight, too.
Yep. So, hey, Duke and Daisy.
Duke and Daisy. Let me shut the door.
Oh, okay. I love Duke and Daisy. Hello, JD. We have JD and D. Scott Howard in the chat. We have the Book of Festivus. Kyle, how you doing, my friend? Thank you very much for joining us, talking a little boxing, sports time machine. Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, they God, who else? Was it who beat him at light heavy? It was
It was Young Stribling, the king of the cane breaks.
Yep.
And that he won. Well, he had 240 something fights, and died at the age of 28 in a motorcycle accident.
That'd be an interesting. Remember how you used to do vlogs on mostly baseball players? That would be for me. I would think that would be a real interesting one because you're such a good historian about baseball and boxing. That would be a real interesting one because I remember he died young because I read stuff about him. Those would be who we leave.
And if you go way back, Bob Fitzsimmons technically was a light heavyweight,
and he won the light heavyweight title after winning. It's after he won the heavyweight title. That's why he's not considered he won both, but it's not the step up because he won it after. And he had the solar plexus punch. If he hit you there, didn't matter how big you were going. He had. I don't know if you've ever been hit like in the right here between the breastbone, whatever you want to call it. That hurts really bad. You lose your wind and you do this. I remember sparring with a person slightly older than me, and he hit me right there, and I did this, and I couldn't throw a punch. I'm like, oh, nuts. Oh, that was not a good feeling. Not a good feeling, folks.
There's two punches there. That one and the other one is a shot to the liver. Have you ever been hit hard there?
The one I've been hit hard to the side. I can't say exactly if it's the liver, but it does hurt. So you would know. I'm going to say no, not exactly, but I've been hit. And that's, I got caught a couple of times.
if you get a really, really good shot to the liver, your legs quit working.
Yeah.
They literally,
Well,
and it's
that's
not right away, it's delayed.
yeah.
You'll feel the sharp pain, and then your legs just
Mickey
don't work.
Mickey Lowell from Lowell, Massachusetts. Mickey Ward, sorry, Mickey
Sure.
Lowell. Mickey Ward. He was fighting a Mexican fighter, Alfonso Gomez, I think, right? But he was supposed to be a named opponent for the guy, right? And the guy, they brought him up from Mexico. They just wanted to give him an American, a decent fighter name on there because Mickey Ward had fought everybody. And the guy's pounding away on Ward on the ropes, and Ward dug a shot to his liver. And what Anthony just said, the guy took 3 steps back, looked at him, and just went down. He was down for the count. And that propelled Mickey Ward to make some nice big money fights after that. Yeah, those body shots, headshots, you can sometimes, get through it.
It's
Body,
not like they feel good, but you
no,
don't feel them the way you feel
no,
body shots.
no. When you get hit in the body, there's 2 things. There's either the guy, there's the classic where the guy gets hit so hard, and it's not that he's afraid, a boxer, another boxer. Most fighters are not afraid, regardless of their how well we might think of their records and stuff. They get in the ring. It's really, if you've even hit a heavy bag and not even been hit back, it's not easy to do. Anthony will tell you that it's not. And if you've ever sparred or you've actually fought a fight, no one, no matter what, like I used to make fun of, like, jokingly about Peter McNeely, but he did get in the ring. I mean, it's only a joke when I say it. Now he went really down really quick, but when you get hit in the body, you'll see that thing where the guy will turn. One of the ones is he starts to turn, walk 3 steps or a step, and just go down. Like Anthony said, it's usually a delayed reaction. It's like boom, it's like. But the one where Ward hit and I want to say it was Alfonso Gomez. I could be wrong. First name was definitely Alfonso. And the guy just took like that step and a half back, 2 steps, and just went boom right to the canvas. And you ain't getting up when you get hit like that. It's strange. You, like Anthony said, you can absorb headshots, punishment to the head better. I think you don't want to, but you can. That's Bob Fitzsimmons. That's I would put those guys. I would say Spinks, not in any order, but like a top tier. Foster, Moore, Tunney,
Spinks,
Fitzsimmons. I forgetting who I'm sensing I'm forgetting someone, but it's going to come to me later. But in the 70s, what a great time. And let's just stick with that if you don't mind, because John Conte had some hellacious fights in the 70s. He fought, and you know what they said about him? Tremendous athlete, right? He liked to party a little. He didn't like to train, and he was a handsome fella. The ladies liked him, but he I guess from what I read and seen and heard, he didn't like to train. If he trained, he was God, was it?
It's
I don't
kind
know.
of a common thing with a lot of British fighters. I mean, if you ever saw Ricky Hatton, I think,
Yep, I know Ricky Hatton. Yep.
hurt himself out. He after he beat Costa Tszyu for the title,
He stopped Costa Tszyu.
He demolished him.
Yeah, and he was an
round.
He was an underdog in that fight because Costa Tszyu was considered invincible. Costa Tszyu he was out of the old Soviet Union type of boxing machine, but Kazakhstan, I can't remember exactly where he came from, but he had he had like that little because his
braid in the back.
Yeah, because his ethnicity, that was a common thing that, it was just a thing. And he was a tough fighter. And Ricky Hatton out of England, he destroyed him.
But after that, you'd see pictures, and Ricky lived around Manchester, and obviously I still have a lot of family in England.
Yeah,
since that's where my roots are, and it was well known. He'd go to the pubs, and when between fights, he'd put on 40, 50 pounds, and he'd be at the bars drinking and smoking every night, and that's no way to stay in shape for a long career, So
there was only one person who sort of did that. Ballooned in weight, was Roberto Duran. He stuck around for a long time, and that probably did. And Duran was great. I have nothing ill to say about him at all. He just was great. But Duran would balloon up in weight. But I'll always remember John Conte when I was watching something on probably on my Kindle, because I get a lot of channels out of England, the UK and stuff. And it could have been Mickey Duff was just doing like talking about John Conte. I don't remember if Mickey Duff had him though. I don't remember who had him as, but he was just saying, he goes, John, if he trained, he goes, he was just tremendous. He goes, he'd come into a fight and we knew he didn't train well. We had him in camp and we knew he didn't train well. And he was still very good. He goes, when he applied himself, he goes, there wasn't anyone on earth who could beat him. That's what they said. He goes, there's no one. He was so athletically gifted and with the boxing ability, so he had the athleticism and the boxing ability.
If you want to look at him, and not an exact comparison, but probably a 175-pound Mayweather, because Mayweather may not put on the most exciting fights, but he's a great athlete.
Yep.
And honestly, he deserves more credit than he gets, because the way he makes people miss, and with just short and concise head movement, foot movement. And if you watch boxing, I seldom, when I watch a fight, especially, and we know there's a Lomachenko fight coming up.
Yep.
When Loma fights, I hardly look at his punches at all. I watch his feet.
His movement's unbelievable.
Boxing, the footwork is incredible.
Yep.
I mean, very few people can move the way he does with his feet, and just the way he uses his feet to create angles, and he does it quick too. It's like he warps from side to side.
He is Lomachenko, lightweight now, junior. I mean, he's jumped up so much in weight, and he's fighting Adam. Is it Corolla? Oh God, what's his first name? I have it right here. He was out of the UK. He was a tough fighter. I don't think he stands a chance. It'd be interesting. But I just don't think he stands a chance in that fight. Yeah, he's fighting Corolla. Anthony Corolla. I said Adam. I think that's an actor, TV, radio personality.
A Man Show guy.
Yes. Oh God, we could do a whole show on the Man Show, but I only have 22 more minutes with Anthony, because I promised Mrs. Bleacher Bums Gaming only 1 hour, and then Windows updates crash my freaking computer. So. D. Scott Howard, before we go back to that, says Bob Foster had one of the greatest knockouts of all time against Mike Quarry. He thought he killed Mike Quarry. That was the Quarry. This is how they build the fight. So it was Jerry Quarry, who was a heavyweight, fighting Muhammad Ali for the second time for the North American Championship. And Mike Quarry, who a lot of people said was rushed into a light heavyweight title shot, but it was a big money fight. Fighting Bob Foster on the co-main events. Obviously, the Jerry Quarry Muhammad Ali fight was the main event, and the co-main event was Bob Foster and Mike Quarry. And it was the Quarry brothers. This is how it was built: the Quarry brothers versus the Soul brothers. And Mike Quarry held his own for a few rounds. He was, nice, and Foster hit him with that left hook. And Foster was, I thought I killed the kid. I mean, his legs twitching on the ground. Whoa. Yeah, that was a tremendous knockout. Mike Quarry was really never the same after that, never reached that peak ever again. Some people say he was rushed, but who knows? That's a fine thing in boxing, Anthony. If you've watched boxing, and sometimes they'll say a fighter's rushed to this, a fighter's rushed to that, or they held him back too much. And again, his father, I believed, was his trainer. Man, I think Jerry no longer had his father as his trainer. I think he had someone else, but I think Michael still had his father as his trainer / manager. And
that's always really a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I think, because you're too close. And if you want to see an interesting thing on that, there's this Netflix series out now called The Losers. And God, I forget the heavyweight that is in there. It'll come to me later. But he talks about that a lot, how his dad, when he got knocked out, and God, I wish his name just is on the tip of my tongue. He's a recent fighter too, from like the 90s. He beat Tommy Morrison. The fight where Morrison was taking a tune-up fight.
Michael Bent.
No.
No.
Darn it.
Tommy Morrison, he beat Tommy Morrison. Well, Tommy Morrison was notorious. Again, that's when they offer you $25 million to go fight Lennox Lewis in the UK. Go take the $25 million. Go get knocked out in the UK for $25 million as opposed to less money.
I have to look it up.
Anthony's gonna look it up. Anthony's gonna look it up. So, um, uh, I'm trying to think now. Tommy Morrison lost a couple of fights he should not have lost, but he had not the best beard. God rest his soul. As I just hit my hand on the table. Anyhow, yeah, but Lomachenko is unbelievable. He's going to fight Anthony Corolla. I think that this Saturday, and let's see how far Corolla can go with him. But yeah, the light heavyweight division. What a way to start off our little boxing chat series. The light heavyweight division. Tribes fan says it is Michael Bent. He says Anthony. He says it's Michael Bent on the losers. Yeah, because that's the guy Morrison. Again, he took a. I'm
that is him. Yeah, good call on that.
So the only thing why I remember that so well, Anthony, because it's one of my little stories I always like to tell is, again, I'll go quickly through it. Morrison could have went to the UK to fight Lennox Lewis, who was then considered the heavyweight champion, at a soccer stadium. They had offered him at the time supposedly $25 million, if not more, and Lewis was going to get a little more, and they're both going to get like a percentage of a pay-per-view. They're going to make a lot of money. He didn't want to go. His people and him didn't want to go over the pond to fight in England because they thought they weren't going to get a fair shake. Tommy, all I kept thinking was when I read that, I'm like, you're not going to win a points decision anyway. If you win, you're going to have to knock the guy out, so it doesn't matter. But here's the point. I'm going to do a quick math for you. $25 million. They turn the fight down. We won't even go into like the like the percentage thingies. $25 million. He takes a fight with Michael Bent because now they've agreed upon to fight Lennox Lewis in Vegas in the fall. Okay. For $1 million on ESPN. He gets knocked out in one round. He hurts Bent. Bent goes to the ropes, and Bent catches him with a shot coming in, knocks him out. He eventually, so that's $1 million that he's made back out of the 25 he's lost out on. Still 24 short. They eventually fight. Lewis has lost the title. Morrison is on his way back. They're trying to build him back up. They fought, I want to say in Vegas. I don't remember that. And Lewis stopped him in 5 or 6 rounds. He made, I believe, $5 million for that fight. So altogether, $6 million. When you could have got knocked out in the UK for $25 million. Anthony, I don't know about you. I would have went to the UK to get knocked out for $25 million. That's just me. That's just.
I'd probably go about anywhere to get knocked out.
But yeah, that's boxing is a tough sport. Tough sport. That's why people still talk about it, even though it tries to shoot itself in the foot constantly.
Let's talk about heavyweights, because we kind of started there, and that's kind of the glamour division that everyone likes to, I guess, talk about and have interest in. And really, there hasn't been a lot of reason to in recent history. I think if Joshua and Wilder ever get in the ring, and Joshua's got a fight coming up against Jarrell Miller, and we'll actually do a preview of that with the Glory Days cards, because I have Jarrell Miller carded too.
Yeah, we look forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I think Joshua will take Miller out in 6 or 7 rounds.
That's what I think too, because I watched a little bit. He can hit okay.
He's really wide with his punches, and he's not very fast. He's powerful.
That is a recipe for disaster, because if you throw slow and the other guy comes like this, he's going to hit you. And Joshua hits hard. Joshua did the heavyweight division a huge favor when he stopped Klitschko. Because the brothers, very good fighters. God, were they in the most boring fights on the face of the earth. Now, every once in a while, they have a good one, which they usually lost because they were getting, if they got knocked out or something. But they did more to ruin their style.
Well, I think the thing with them, it's very European style. It's straight up and down, and good at what they do. They kept distance with their jab very well.
Yep.
But they're not Americans too, and boxing is popular around the world, but where you get the big dollars is in America.
Yep.
Right. And so I think there has to be at least one American champion that's a cut above the rest. And for most of their reign, there just wasn't a threat from America to really give them a run for their money for the title.
No, I, the you said it right. To me, my I'll even go a little farther with the Klitschko's. They took an amateur style, modified it a little bit for the pros, and they worked it to perfection because of their height and reach and tremendous athletes. And they could hit. It's not like they didn't hit hard, but they were, oh my God, they were horrible for boxing. Those are so I would like to see, I want to see Joshua and Wilder. I want to see Joshua and Fury. That's what I want to see. I thought we were going to get some of that this summer, but then we're not going to get any of it. Maybe in the fall.
I'll tell you what, if they hook up Joshua and Fury, I don't think there's a place in England big enough to hold a crowd that would want to come see that.
You're going to get over 100. Yeah, 100,000.
Oh yeah.
And people wanting to buy tickets. That fight. This is where I thought Fury was in a driver's seat coming off the draw, right? I'm like, if you were going to pull out of the rematch with Wilder, which at the time was supposedly a done deal, right? So I was happy about that. We're going to see a rematch. And let it be known to anyone who didn't know, I had picked Wilder in the first fight. So I had picked Wilder in the first fight, and it was a draw. Wilder dropped Fury twice, but Fury, it was a draw. And I did a post-fight thing on that. If you guys want to go back and look, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I thought the draw was reasonable. I still thought Fury won. Again, I picked the other fighter. I thought Fury won I had him by 2 points. But couple rounds go the other way, it's a draw. So that's it. But I thought, Anthony, what you just said, that was in my head. I'm like, Fury, if he pulls out and makes a deal with Eddie Hearn and Joshua, not signing a promotional contract, but just a one-fight deal with a rematch kind of thing, you're absolutely right. There would have been people, first day those tickets go for sale, they're gone. How they would have filled Wembley over easy.
Oh, easy, no doubt about it. And that's what boxing's missing now. In England, that fight would be literally a national event, and that's how a lot of fights used to be here. If you go back, and again, we'll go way back to when Johnson fought Jeffries. That fight took place in Reno. They actually
built a stadium, I think.
Built a stadium to hold it. They increased railroad capacity, and Reno worked out because it was such a one, they wanted to do the fight, I think, in California, and they ran into some difficulties there.
I think it was like some legal BS.
But Reno made sense because it was really, the town itself was really there more as a railway hub between the west and points east and whatnot. But that made sense because there were so many lines coming in there. They literally built a stadium just for the fight. It was an event. People came from all over the country, and I think the population almost doubled the week of the fight that they had it. So, that's what's missing, at least now in boxing here. And part of that is because you don't have to travel to see a fight like that. You can watch it from the comfort of your own living room. There's so many other distractions or sports or whatnot that goes on. But that's at the time when boxing really probably was the king of sports in America. Boxing, baseball,
boxing and racing, horse racing. And actually it was boxing, horse racing, close baseball. 1-2, and then baseball. I know that's mind-boggling to people, but that's the way it was. Boxing had the big stars. I always said, if there ever is a Wilder Joshua fight, I want to see it in the UK because I want the atmosphere. I want that. Because
it would be like a Manchester United, Manchester City soccer match on steroids.
Exactly. The only thing bigger than that would be if Fury wins a fight and Joshua maintains the title. That's just a natural for whatever soccer stadium they want to put that in. I like to see Wembley because I'm a traditionalist. And I just, the whole thing of a heavyweight championship fight at Wembley is a real cool concept to me. But I don't know when they're going to do that. They all have fights. They should all win their fights.
And that's a risk you take. One of them loses, all that money goes out the door. But they're going to try and I think string it out as long as they can. One, they want to keep their titles and they want to continue to increase their bargaining power. That's kind of what boxing has turned into now.
Yeah, but I
You
think
just don't have guys that fight each. And we talked about the light heavyweights at length. That was the top guys fought each other. They didn't
oh my
care.
God, that's why there are all those great super fights.
Yeah.
You had, as we only have 9 more minutes with Anthony, you had so those are the fights I want to see, because I would have liked to have seen Ortiz and Joshua. That would have been an interesting fight. I still think Joshua wins that fight. I would like to see. I don't need, like, Dillian White. I've been following that a little bit. Like, he's shooting his mouth off. And Joshua already beat you. Quiet. He knocked you out once already. I get it. You hit him. You hurt him. But you didn't beat him. You rattled him. He knocked you out. He stopped you. You lost when they fought, when they were, I think it was a British Commonwealth title, maybe, or just a 10-rounder. I don't. But I've seen the fight. You can find it on YouTube. There's no controversy in that fight. He beat him.
Right now in the heavyweight division, there's 3 guys that people want to see in any combination of the 3 fighting each other. It's Wilder, Fury, and Joshua.
I mean that's what you want to see. And I'm, at some point, the money's there. You can make. They're going to make more money for one of those fights than they do putting 3 fights against whoever together. I mean, Wilder's going to fight Dominic Brazil. He's a tough guy. Don't get me wrong, tough guy. And he upset a young up-and-coming fighter. I actually saw that fight. I was in shock that he upset the guy, but he fought hard in that fight. He took a beating. And I remember my dad and I were watching it, and even though Brazil's taking the beating, right, I'm watching. The guy didn't take him out. The young guy didn't take him out. I go, this guy's in trouble now, because Dominic Brazil now knows, because he was hitting him. And it wasn't like, he was hitting him a little bit. And now the guy started to wear out, and Brazil just, he knocked him out. And that's the way it is. But that's going to be an awful fight. What do you think of that fight coming? I feel bad. He's going to get hurt, Dominic Brazil.
Yeah, I don't think. And again, I mean, hearing that fight based off that upset, but I think he'll probably hang in there a little bit early on, but Wilder will keep him at distance, and it's only a matter of time before that right hand lands against most heavyweights. And when it does, it's going to put him to sleep.
Yeah, the only thing why I think he'll do slightly better against Wilder is because Wilder's awkwardness and his, like, he does a lot of things wrong. So when Wilder waits for the big right hand, maybe he gets in some sort of rhythm, maybe. And like you said, Anthony, he might do. When I say okay, it's like he might hit. I'm not saying he's going to win, but with Joshua, just beat him to a pulp. His corner,
to really be effective against Wilder, I think Wilder's best part of Wilder's game is his length, and I think you need to have that. And you saw the blueprint to beat Joshua when Gerald Washington fought him. For 4 or 5 rounds until Wilder got his distance. Washington gave him fits. And Washington was a guy, Jarrell Miller. He's one of the guys that he beat recently too.
That's how he probably got that shot there.
But let's build a perfect heavyweight fighter, Al. So we'll take power, speed, defense, and technique.
So we're gonna pick fighters and say this is what we like from them. Is that how we're doing this?
Take one piece from each fighter. Yeah. So let's start with defense.
And we're using heavyweights because we said heavyweight.
Heavyweights.
I'm gonna go with Ali, but an honorable mention. Oh God, now I got 2. I have Jimmy Young popping in my head, and also Chris Bird. But I'm gonna go Ali. I'll go Ali. Ali on defense. I'll go. See, now I got all these guys popping in my head. I'll go Ali for defense. But now I can't use him for footwork, right?
No.
Oh crap.
I'm gonna go Jack Johnson for defense.
All right. I'm not gonna change now. See, okay. All right. I'll stick with Ali. Now I kind of want to use him for footwork, but all right. I'll stick with Ali because that was what I said first. That's a good one, Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson's good.
And Johnson, he was so good at parrying blows.
Yep, that's what he did that
when he was in trouble. Yeah,
that's a good one.
All right, footwork.
See, now I'm screwed because I should have went Ali with footwork. Footwork. I'm not going to go with an old school fighter because the footwork was so different then. Like someone might say, "Oh, go Corbett," but it's different. I mean, it's just different. I wouldn't. Footwork. I'm going to go with Jimmy Young was kind of awkward. I'll go. I don't know. I'm forgetting someone here. I'll go Chris Bird footwork. I'm not real happy. I messed that up because I should have went. Ali. All right, Ali defense. Bird footwork. I should have reversed that, but
anyway. And I'm going to take Ali for the footwork.
Yeah, I agree with you, Anthony. I didn't want to change it. I realized as soon as I went Ali, I was like, I can't use him again. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Rocky Marciano. I'm going to go with the Rock. It would either be Rocky or I mean, you got Foreman too. And since we're only taking one aspect, so my 3 fighters I'm thinking of right now, and I'm going to leave someone out. I know that. Marciano, Joe Louis, and Foreman. You got Jack Dempsey. I'm going to go Marciano.
And Dempsey was more a cumulative puncher. Yeah. He was, I have to go with Ernie Shavers.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, you're right. You know what? That's an excellent one because if Shavers hit you, that was going to be that was not pretty. Shavers.
He was just missing the other parts of his game, but
he was a big. That's a good one, Ernie Shavers. Yes, that's a good one. I'm happy with my pick with Marciano. I messed up my Ali thing. I should have went with footwork there. So okay.
Let's go with jab, and I'll go first on that. I think with Ali gone, he would have been a good one.
Yes, and I've already screwed that up. So
the guys left.
I know I'm going with
Larry Holmes, the Easton assassin.
All right, because I was going to pick. I have it between Holmes and Liston had that thudding jab, but I'm gonna. I can do. Can I go the same fighter or no? You want me to go someone different?
Yeah, no, go on. Yeah,
I go Larry Holmes because those are the 2 I was thinking. Larry Holmes just had a beautiful jab.
When I look at I think really only the
Joe Louis honorable mention. He had a good jab.
Yeah. But I think if you separate guys, it's Ali and Holmes in terms of the best jabs in the division in history.
I like this. This was good, Anthony. What else? Is there one more thing aspect we have to go with?
Speed.
Again, I can't go. Oh God, I really foobarred this. Speed. Speed at heavyweight. I can't use Holmes, who had pretty good fast hand speed. Jimmy Young. Oh, Mike Tyson. I'm going to take.
I was waiting. Now that's who I was. That's my pick too.
Because now I'm thinking. Because now I get the game, and this is fun. We got to do this again with the thing. I like this because I'm thinking. I already foobarred because I got so excited. Oh yeah, I'm going to use Ali for defense, and I'm like, well, now I can't use him for footwork. I can't use him for the other thing. So yeah, I'm going Mike Tyson there.
And Tyson was really, people don't talk about that a lot. He was fast.
His hand speed. The thing I always said about Tyson, he was a front runner, a bully's mentality, right? It worked a lot. I'm just saying when the fights where someone resisted, he didn't fare too well in those. That's all. And the other thing with Tyson, and if he just let his hands go on the inside, he almost would have been unbeatable at times. You know what I mean? Because there are times you watch a fight, he get on the inside, and he really didn't throw that one punch, and people are like, oh, they're tying up. I'm like, yeah, but it's Tyson doing the tying up. He's kind of like doing that, you know. It would have been nice to see.
They named, the Tyson combo, that quick hook uppercut. It was almost like one motion.
Right, and if you just, it's hellacious. If you got hit with that, it's lights out. You know, so D. Scott Howard says chin. Good
call. That's easy. George Chuvalo.
George Chuvalo, yeah. Because you can't. He either never went down or he went down once.
He was never off his feet.
Okay, yeah, because he just took a beating. So okay, all right. Let me see what. So I had Ali for defense.
Johnson.
And yeah, you had Johnson. Then footwork, I took Chris Bird because I foobarred the Ali thing.
I had Ali.
You had Ali. Okay. Okay. And then we went. Did we go power next?
Power, yeah.
I took Marciano. You took Ernie Shavers. I'm happy with both of those. I'm happy with everything we've said. Then we went jab. We both took Larry Holmes. And now we just did speed. We both took Mike Tyson.
And then
Chin, and we both took George Chapelle. I think we have pretty good. I think your heavyweight slightly better than mine because I would have liked to have used Ali with footwork. But I already said.
I'd say if both our heavyweights fought in the 70s, we'd have 3 super fights by now. If they fought now, we'd be waiting 3 years for them to fight.
That was a lot of fun, Anthony. I know you got to go. I don't want to
have to. I'm good for a few more.
All right. So okay, good, cool. That we got to remember.
We haven't ranked the best heavyweights yet.
That's okay. You want to do that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna say I have Joe Louis 1. Okay. I love Joe Louis. I know he lost. He got knocked out. I love Joe Louis. And again, you could change these around. I go Joe Louis 1. See, a lot of my fighters are gonna be old school. It's just because they.
Wait. We missed an important thing. Bubba Husky.
Hello, Bubba. How are you doing, my friend?
Best sock tassels. That's got to be Michael Shanks.
Yeah, because we can't go with.
Did he have sock tassels?
I don't think he had. I know Ali did at times. You're talking about the things off the boots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The who had that? I can't remember anyone else who had. I know
you can think of a ton of guys in the lighter divisions that you could.
Yeah, they wore a lot of that.
Jorge Paez was one.
Oh my God, Jorge! I'll tell you what. Not to get off the heavyweight thing, but Jorge Paez, as goofy as he might have looked to some people, right? And at first, it threw me aback because he was the first guy to wear long shorts, right? The mohawk haircut. The Clown Prince of man, he had good, exciting fights though. That's why he was on TV every other month, you know. So my list of heavyweights, I go Luis Marciano, Ali, Larry Holmes is up there too. But see now, okay, let me see. I'm missing out the real old. Okay, you got Jack John. This is very difficult for me, Anthony. I like them all. It is tough. I don't because you see you can flip flop anyway. I'll give you the heavyweights that I think are top notch. I can't do it. I really can't because then I feel bad. I don't know why I feel bad, but I feel bad. I'll give you my top notch. Early days, you definitely have Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey in that era, in those eras. Those are my Jim Jeffries.
Yeah, I was going to say he fought Johnson well past his prime, but that's his fault.
That's his fault. That's his fault.
He needs to be mentioned, I think, with those two.
You got and he was 19-1 or 19-0-1 or something like he had either it was 19-0 or 19 with a draw. I can't remember.
I think he had a draw against Tom Sharkey.
Yeah, because Tom Sharkey was tough. He was a tough dude. So I mean, again, I'm disregarding eras because see that's what starts popping in my head. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I've always said this: the Klitschko brothers, because of their height and the way they fought, would give a lot of guys trouble. And I hate saying that, but it's unfortunately, in my opinion, the truth. It's just they're too big. They're too big for some of these.
Quite honestly, you take any of today's modern heavyweights.
Yeah.
I mean, Marciano was what 5'10", 195
He'd be a cruiserweight. Yeah. He would be a cruiserweight.
I mean,
all I say is, God forbid if he's somehow able to hit any of them, because they did that whole test how hard he hit, and that's not you can question everything about everything. When they did that scientific test, like punching the machine, and they did, this would take like a human being's head off, or like it's the equivalent of how it's. I remember reading that, and then but he would have a lot of too small. I agree.
I mean, honestly, the only guy back then who had the size that today's heavyweights have was Primo Carnera.
Yes, you actually, and I thought your assessment of him was right on the head because people don't understand Primo Carnera. There were fights that were fixed unbeknownst to him. The heavyweight championship fight was not fixed. You can believe me or not. My dad, when my dad was a barber, he cut Jack Sharkey's grandson's hair. I must have asked that gentleman a gazillion questions about that fight, and he always, and the first thing was that fight fixed. Now again, he's the grandson, but he said no. And there's fight films. He hit him. He went down. Okay, it's just whatever. He caught him. That's go look it up. That you don't fake that.
You don't. And the thing about Jack Sharkey, he probably was one of the most inconsistent heavyweight. Him and Max Baer, probably the two most inconsistent heavyweight champions ever.
He was because the thing with Sharkey, he was a very good defensive fighter, but he was very inconsistent with his performances, and Max Baer, Max Baer was Max Baer.
Max Baer could have been honestly Jack Dempsey-like if he took fighting more seriously.
He didn't like to train.
No, but so hellacious puncher and skilled boxer too. Yep. Probably a better boxer than Dempsey, actually. Yeah. Dempsey was just so relentless inside.
So I'm gonna go out. So we can do. I'll have to put Jim Jeffries there. I have to put Jack Johnson. You got to put Jack Johnson. He's an all. I mean, again, I list Johnson obviously above Jim Jeffries, not because he beat him and stuff, because that's past his prime. But he did beat him. But and then you have Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, Ali in the 60s. That's Ali. See, I put Frazier in just a little lower tier than these guys, just a little lower. But that's tough to say because he fought such good fighters, and he did.
And Frazier's another guy that's very comparable to Jack Dempsey in terms of style.
Yeah, and he only lost to 2 fighters. Grant you he has 4 losses, but he lost to 2 fighters. He lost to George Foreman twice, and he lost to Ali twice. And he has a draw with Jumbo Cummings when he came out of retirement, which he probably shouldn't have. This is so tough, Anthony. Larry Holmes definitely there. Larry Holmes tremendous. The jab, the boxing ability.
And you know who we both forgot about defensive fighters was James Corbett.
I didn't forget the thing with him, Anthony. I don't see it. I can't. It's tough. You read about it, right? But when you don't. It's tough to see because then you see a little film footage. The fighting was different style. You know what though? You're right, because if they probably trained him a different way, he was such a good athlete when it came to boxing. He was a very skilled defensive fighter. Yeah, I could have done that.
And you look at his losses too. He lost to Fitzsimmons, to Jeffries.
Yep. He lost all time.
He had a DQ loss to Tom Sharkey. Yeah. So that's not bad.
Oh no, those guys are all very good fighters. All right, give me because I can't. Okay, all right, so I'll give you 5. I'll give you a top 5. I'll give you a top 5. I'm just gonna do it, not in any particular order. Top 5. Jack Johnson, Marciano, Joe Louis, Ali, Jack Dempsey, and Larry Holmes.
Go wrong.
I know, but see, I want to put Larry Holmes and Frazier. And again, they're definitely in my top 10. So,
and for Bubba Husky, neither Peter McNeely Jr. or Sr. belongs on this list. Maybe together.
Yeah.
And John St. Baptiste, he's
great. Jimmy McFarland.
Boxing knowledge too. We brought up Jimmy McFarland.
Jimmy McFarland, McLarland, sorry. But a great channel, John St. Baptiste. Love the music.
So my top 10, Ali, Lewis.
Yeah.
And then it gets tough. To me, those two are just a cut above.
To me, I already said it. Lewis is number 1. Lewis is number 1 to me, always will be. So I'm just a huge Joe Louis fan. It's just, I love Joe Louis.
So from there, Marciano, Johnson, Dempsey, Holmes honestly was criminally underrated.
Yes, he's especially when you go back and you watch fight films now and you just take whatever animosity or whatever, he was fun to root against just because you knew he was going to win, he's just tremendous fighter. He could hit hard. The jab.
Jab was amazing.
Yeah.
7, I got to go with Tyson, and Tyson would be higher if he hadn't gotten away from Caton and Jacobs. And I forget which of the two managers, obviously Customato too, but once he had the two managers, Caton and Jacobs.
Yeah, and once they fell out, well, he was one
one of
passed
them he
away.
didn't like. Yeah, the
No,
one passed away was the one he liked.
Jacob passed away. He liked him. He didn't like Clayton.
He didn't like Caton.
And that's and Caton. I'm sorry, and that's when Don King moved in.
Yeah, and I think if he had stayed under their leadership and continued to be trained by Rooney versus Aaron Snowell.
Oh yeah, it's
and then he had Richie. He just made him
and then he had Richie Cicchetti a little bit, and then he had another guy for a little bit. And again, that did mess up whatever. His peak was done when that happened, unfortunately. Sure. And then again, the reason why I don't put him where I just did 5 quick ones. Would he make my top 10? I'd have to really go through it. He might just be out of it. The big fights, he lost. Again, the 2 with Holyfield, the upset to Buster Douglas. Again, he had a bully's mentality.
You almost have to look at his career as 2 parts, honestly.
Yeah. After the Spinks fight, and that's a huge win. And that's a huge win. Some people always that's a huge win for Mike. He came in and he annihilated Michael Spinks. Okay. And the bully mentality worked there. But he did what he was supposed to do. That's a big win. And then I look at him after. And again, he's not the same. Buster Douglas, he got it. Buster Douglas had all the talent in the world. Anthony said something about Sharkey, inconsistent. Buster Douglas was the ultimate inconsistent. I remember when he fought the first time for a vacant IBF title against Tony TNT Tucker. He was winning, it was still 15-round fights, 9 rounds had gone by, and Douglas is looking good, but you could see Tucker wearing him down a bit. And then Douglas sort of like, yeah, I'm not going to, I'm done. I mean, Tucker had a big issue, he had a big part in that, but inconsistency. And he caught, Douglas's mom had passed away, and he trained hard for that fight. And he showed his what could have been with that night in Tokyo. So
I'm up to 8 now. So my last 3, 8, 9, 10, Lennox Lewis.
Yep. See, that's a very good
James
fight.
Jeffries and Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
And I leave Gene Tunney out only because he was predominantly a light
heavyweight. Yeah.
He beat an aging Jack Dempsey, but still, you can make him honorable mention. You could throw Corbett as honorable mention.
Yep.
There's several other fighters that are right there on the fringe, but those are my top 10.
Oh, John St. Petit says a QA before you leave, Anthony. Speed or power makes a better fighter. You kind of need both.
You do, but if I had to pick one, I would take speed, and I'll tell you why. Yep. Even if you hit hard,
you got to hit them.
If you can see a punch coming, you can roll with it. The punches that really hurt you, and meaning getting hit in the head, or the punches you don't see.
Exactly.
So, and usually a fighter with good speed that sits down on his punches is going to have that power as long as they get their lower body into it.
Right. So when he settles in, you can't teach speed. You can't really even teach power. But I agree with Anthony. If I had to choose one or the other, great question by John St. Pettis. Again, wonderful channel. Please check it out. I take speed because you can work off of the speed. Now I have to tell you, no matter what, your fighter's got to be tough. Anthony will tell you, I've seen fighters, they had all the skill in the world, right? Then they get in with a guy who's just a bulldog, right? The guy's, and you're not tough. Don't be in the sport because
and you can even be tough. Let's talk about Pepino Cuevas. He was the toughest son of a bitch in the ring, and once Hearns touched him, it's like he lost his chin.
Yeah, that is one of the most tremendous. 11:15, Anthony. Just want to tell you that. I don't know how much. That is one of the most tremendous knockouts. He hit Cuevas in I think it was the second round. He ends up knocking him out, and they fought in Detroit, Joe Louis Arena. I am positive of that, right? And Hearns a very tall. If you look at him as a welterweight, lanky welterweight, and he hit him, and Cuevas's legs did that, and fight over. And
Well, and
Cuevas,
Hearn got a spectacular knockout of Duran too. He
the
put
same
him
thing.
face
Yep,
first.
junior middleweight, second round. Very eerily similar.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, very eerily similar. Yeah, Tommy Hearns, tremendous puncher.
That's actually brings up another good, I guess, question. Who are your 5 favorite fighters? Any weight division.
Okay, that's a great question. I kind of list guys as TV fighters, and then you have my favorite. I'm gonna go off guys I've seen really. Oh, you know what I mean?
And
Like
let's stick with that. Guys we've seen fight.
yeah, and I'm not gonna pick guys where I've seen fight film. I never saw Rocky Marciano fight in real life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna pick that
So
type of
guys
fight.
we've seen fight while we've been alive. Okay.
Yes, yeah, that makes it a little more okay. And some people, one of my favorite fighters to watch. I'm not listing them as great, so I'm doing it as favorite fighters to watch. I like the action type fighter. Okay, and this is not in any particular order. You had Arturo Gatti, who was never in a dull fight. Okay, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Frank the Animal Fletcher was one of my out of Philadelphia. Was a middleweight. I mean, and he
Good
would
call.
fight. I felt so. He had a shelf life, unfortunately, right? And his mother was wow. His mother was a riot because you better not hit Frank. If she thought you were doing something, she actually came into the ring. You can look it up. She came into the ring trying to hit someone with a shoe in one of his fights. And he was like, "Mom, you know."
So did you remember Kenny Bogner?
Yep, Kenny Bogner.
His mother did that too.
Oh, I didn't know that. I got to look that. But so, you know what's strange with Kenny Bogner, though? I never saw him fight live. And he was on a lot. I tried to go through my head. I'm like, my God, I never saw Kenny Bogner fight. I kind of remember, but I didn't see it all the way. He beat Livingstone Bramble, I think, in an 8-rounder when Bramble was coming up or something, or a 6-rounder or something. But yeah, I think that's the only time I saw Kenny Bogner, and he was a good fighter. He was a top-ranked lightweight. So Frank the Animal Fletcher. Oh, there's so many good ones in the 80s. Okay, Arturo Gatti, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. See, then you got the two brothers who were the Goosens trained them, and now it slips my mind. Ruelas brothers were fun to watch. All right, I got to. Okay, Fletcher, Frank the Animal Fletcher, Marvin Hagler was just
for sure.
Beautiful, and he was entertaining. He could box, he could slug. I'll tell you another. Always in an entertaining fight. Tommy Hearns was usually always in an entertaining. I'm not picking him because he's a great fight, but he usually was always an entertaining. He's only a handful of quote unquote stinkers.
How about Jeff Chandler? Remember him?
Oh, bantamweight. Yes. Mm-hmm. I remember when Richie Sandoval beat him.
Yeah.
Oh, Barry McGuigan.
Yeah, McGuigan.
Oh my God! I remember when Stevie Cruz beat him. So many good fights then. It's just this is so tough.
That was a tough fight for McGuigan because they fought in Las Vegas. It was like 110 degrees.
The heat was unbelievable. That was I remember the card. McGuigan, Cruz. Okay. Tommy Hearns was on that card. God, who the hell was he fighting? I don't remember that. And there was Duran was on the card too, and Duran actually lost his fight to Robbie Sims, I think. I think that's the fight card. I think. You know who was also entertaining? Do you remember Juan Domingo Roldan from Argentina?
Oh yeah, he had a huge right hand.
You want to talk about?
And didn't he fight Fletcher?
Yeah, he knocked out Fletcher. He knocked out James the Heat Kitchen. That's how he got his 2 title shots. I felt bad for Jeff Fennick. Azuma Nelson. That was another.
That was a great fight.
Great fighter. I loved Azuma Nelson. Then we're not even touching Bobby Chacon, Bazooka Lamone, Danny Little Red Lopez, one of your favorites. There's so many.
I like Little Red.
There's so many. Here's the difference. Here's the difference with boxing then. Promoters sort of got it. I get it. It's a different time. The whole thing was to get your fighter on TV, right? But networks were like, you got to give us action fighter. I'm not saying I know this for a fact, but as Anthony will tell you, most of the fights that were on network TV, unless it was a top-notch champion, I guarantee you they're looking, who are the two guys who are going to be action, right? And then the next thing I guarantee you was ethnicity kind of thing. Can we put up two Mexicans together? Can we go Mexican and Puerto Rican? Can we go any type of ethnic, Irish, Italian, or white? I mean, that's not an ethnicity, but you know what I mean, Anthony, because that sells, right? But Jeff Chandler was a great. He had a ton of defenses in a row. He had
It was double digits, I think 11 or 12.
yeah, and he was a good fight. Oh, so many, and then we didn't even touch Sugar Ray Leonard was an exciting fighter. Sugar Ray Leonard was not. I remember watching. They'd find like, and no knock against these fighters because I liked them. I watched all these guys, but they found every white guy, right? I watch him wreck Tony Schiavone and then Pete Ranzani. I'm sitting there going, he's going to kill all these guys. I mean, and these guys were good fighters. They were
Davey Boy Green.
Davey Boy Green. You're sitting there. They just, that's how they're going to do it. And these guys were not bad. They were good fighters, these guys. But Leonard was just tremendous. And who's he going to beat next? And Armando Muniz at the Springfield Civic Center, just down the street from me. And Armando Muniz was a tough freaking fighter, man. They're just so many good fighters. And there's good fighters now. But the TV fight.
And right now I like Keith Thurman is definitely a guy that could fit in the 80s.
You know who I like? You know who I like a little better than Keith Thurman? Is Porter. I like Porter a little for action fight because Thurman, you're right, he could fit. Sometimes with Keith Thurman, he doesn't, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying to win the fight because he does what he has to do to win a fight. I'm talking as a fan. I'd like to see him throw more punches. I never want to talk, I like Errol Spence. I'm a huge Errol Spence fan. And then you have a lot of the good Lomachenko. Is just
even Canelo too. I mean, Canelo he'll throw punches.
Triple G, there's a lot of good fights we've come, but in the heyday when I was watching boxing, I'll get back to it. I'm rambling because I get excited. Definitely Frank. I'm just gonna go TV fights now. I'm not even gonna bring up like Gotti because he was farther back, right? So, and he was an action fighter, but
and we could do a whole show about not only his career but the misfortune. And
oh my God, that was in Brazil. In Brazil, mm-hmm. There's a lot of I don't know what happened there, but it just didn't make sense to me.
No,
that is a very bizarre thing. You're right. You could do a whole show. So I'll stick with the 80s and the list seven. Oh God. So okay. TV fighters that I saw a lot. Mike Rossman, just because he brought persona and he was a tough son of a bitch, okay? And he beat one of the best light heavyweights ever at the time, in the time period, I should put that, Victor Galindez. And he fought and he lost and this and that. And he had that window, right, Anthony, where he was a top notch for this, like this type of window. And then he became a named opponent and then he retired. But any of the light heavyweights then, because I can't, I'll just name them real quick. Marvin Johnson, Matthew Saad Muhammad, Mike Rossman, Victor Galindez, John Conte, who just fought. Oh, Yaki. Remember Yaki Lopez?
Mm-hmm.
One of the best fighters never to win a title. That guy came about at the wrong time. That's all I can say. Frank the Animal. You know what? I'm going to tell you my two all-time, and I'll probably think of someone when we go up there. I know I'll forget someone. I'm not even going to name I already said Hagler, but I always look forward to Frank the Animal Fletcher fights and Ray Boom Boom Mancini fights because they were action. I knew they were going to be action. And there were so many good fighters.
Talk about rivalries from back then too. How about Haugen and Pazienza?
The three good fights. Mm-hmm. Pazienza definitely won the third fight. Haugen won the second. The first fight, that's up in the air because, and truth be told, I'm not a big Vinny Pazienza fan. Haugen, tremendous fighter, and he learned his trade in tough man contests.
In Alaska.
That's right. Greg Haugen was fearless. That's what made him beautiful. And he had a jab. He was like the lighter weight. They compared him, I believe, to George Chuvalo. because he was fearless. But he just would work that jab, hit you with the right hand. Hit you. When he beat Jimmy Paul, that's for the IBF title. That was to me because no one gave him a shot, and he outboxed the boxer. But I'm not talking about like Sugar Ray Leonard or Muhammad Ali movement. I'm just Anthony will tell the jab, move this way a bit, move that way a bit, bang, right hand, dig to the body. It's a clinic. Yeah. Oh my God, so many. Harry Arroyo was always a fun fighter.
Yeah.
Remember, he was a fun fighter.
He came from Boom Boom's hometown too, right?
That would. Oh yeah, they hated each other. Hated it, but they never made that fight. I'm going to be again. I'm biased. I like Boom Boom Mancini. I think
they should have made for Mancini, Arroyo, and Bogner would have been a good one too.
Now, they supposedly had the Bogner fight made for South Africa because my guess is, without going back to look, it must have been Kushner as the promoter who was out of South Africa, and he wanted to put the fight in South Africa, and they had actually were prepared to sign for it. And then Mancini and his people go, yeah, we don't want to fight in South Africa. And then that fight, that would have been that would have been an entertaining. Bogner won that. Bogner won that fight. They hated another two guys who hated each other. Sean O'Grady and Ray Boom Boom Mancini would have been something. They to this day don't like each other, I don't think.
Well, and how it's funny because Haugen, I chatted with him a little bit on social media. He posted just the other day the anniversary of stopping Mancini.
Yeah, he got and
you can tell he still doesn't like Mancini.
Oh yeah, they don't like. Yeah, they don't. Mancini trained hard for that fight, but he hadn't fought in years, and you just saw the timing wasn't there, and it's just. I don't know who would have won in their prime because Haugen was a really tough fighter. Mancini obviously would have done better in his prime. His timing was all off. And Hector Camacho, before Edwin Rosario neutered him with a left hook and right hand, and which he won that fight but didn't get the decision. That's what always goes back to boxing that annoys me. And Anthony, you'll say, you watch a fight, even if you're rooting for a guy, you kind of know if he wins or loses. There's times you sit there and go, my fighter lost, and he might get a decision or something. But
what's the worst decision you've ever seen?
James Tiberi, there's two. There's two out I can pop. The first one that definitely pops in my head, ABC. It was it was a wild. I don't know if it was a wild. I think it was a Wide World of Sports fight, or maybe not, because it was on a Saturday, right? And James Tiberi just ranked in the top 10, right? They want to give James Toney an easy tune-up. Let's put, again, no offense to anybody. I'm just telling you the way boxing was at the time. The guy has an Italian last name. He's white. He's capable, right? He's going to take punishment. He boxes a little bit. This and that. Well, on that day, he won that fight. I don't give a crap what anyone says. Now, if they fought 10 times, Anthony, right? He loses 9 out of 10. But on that day, that kid won that fight. That's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my life. Okay. I don't care.
Jumps right out for me is Whittaker and Chavez.
Oh, yep. Yes, that was a mega fight too. That's even worse than the other one I just mentioned. Then, I mean, you can just go through. That's the one that jumped. You're right. That is a horrible decision. I had the other one. I just forgot because that's a real good one that you said. There's so many. That's, again, boxing shoots its up front, but the Tiberi fight sticks in my head because he won that fight.
The first Triple G Canelo fight was a terrible decision too.
Here's another one. Yeah, you're right. Here's another one. Hector Camacho, I just mentioned, Edwin Rosario. Rosario beat him. Don't care. This is even worse. Cubanito Perez versus Hector Camacho on Showtime. They picked Cubanito Perez, who's a very competent, top-notch fighter, but they pick him because of his style, right? He boxes a bit, he outboxed Camacho, he outpunched Camacho, he outhit Camacho, and again, they have the unanimous. And you sit there and you go, what the hell fight were these three blind mice watching? So Camacho, after he lost his macho-ness, and again, it goes back to the Rosario fight when Rosario neutered him with those punches where he didn't want to, because Camacho before that was outstanding. I mean, Mancini and Camacho would have been interesting. I mean, when they fought, again, when they did fight, they give I thought Mancini won the fight. Again, I'm
It
biased.
was actually a pretty close fight.
Yeah.
It was a very
Then
close fight.
now then you see the scorecards. One judge giving it like I'm almost like you could sit there and go okay because it was a split decision, and one judge had it way out of whack in my opinion. But yeah, the Whitaker, that's a good. You see, I forget some things. Yeah, Whitaker, Chavez. Yeah, that's for heavyweights. I'm trying to think of I remember Carla Truth Williams and Tim Witherspoon gave Holmes a really tough. I mean, I don't know if they're in bad decisions, questionable, possibly close. They were close, but I don't rank them as horrible.
No.
Those, but the Dave Taberi one, and then you mentioned that the Whitaker. Whitaker was one of those fighters. You didn't. He was so good defensively, and he did that. You know what I mean? Like he could move, and he did the dip and the dive. You know, it's tough to describe. He's just very good defensively. That
he had really good anticipation.
Yeah.
Really good.
Well, Anthony, I don't want your wife to get mad at me. I'll talk to 3 a.m. about boxing. So, yeah. And AU Pack Mule, how you doing, my friend? What's blazing in sports? T-Dub, great boxing channel. Comics with Bueller, how you doing? Bubba Husky's in there.
Yeah, we should have had T-Dub on for this podcast.
Oh, we will. We will have another time. That's All right, my favorite TV fighter. I'm going to go back to it. Frank the Animal Fletcher in his heyday. I always loved watching Frank the Animal Fletcher out of Philadelphia. I'm going to pick one. I'll pick Frank the Animal Fletcher. Never won a title. Actually, his 2 times he was going to get titles. 3. I'll tell you the time I was really disappointed because I think this is when he started to phase out. He fought a guy named Wilfred Scipion, right? It was a 12-round fight. The winner gets Hagler. Hagler would have beat Scipion, right? He would have beat most likely would have beat Frank the Animal Fletcher, except the buildup would have been a lot of fun, right? And he lost he just, when you fight that way, where he punched, but he didn't punch like mega hard. You know what I mean? Like he got inside and he worked.
He was what you call a swarmer. Just
a swarmer. And he probably hit slightly harder or a little more than slightly harder than, say, a Vito Anafirmo, who for a strong guy didn't hit hard at all, right? But again, he was a swarmer. And in that fight, he just never got any type of rhythm on the inside. And Scipion, a very inconsistent fighter, fought the fight of his life, and he wins a 12-round decision. And then Hagler annihilated him in 4 rounds. So.
And Vito was a very fun guy to watch too. He just never really, if you watch his fights, it was his arm. He never really sat down on his shots. But if I had to pick a TV fighter, my favorite, Little Red Lopez, I think, close.
Oh yeah, see, you can't go wrong there. Any of the lighter weights. I mean, I could have picked. Because Frank the Animal Fletcher, I always go back to it. I wanted to make sure, like, if I was going outside to play with my friends, I would have my mother. I go, at this time, right? Call me, like yell my name, because the fight's on in 20 minutes after that, and I want to watch the fight. And he was on TV a lot. Curtis Parker, probably people don't even remember. He was out. Curtis Parker was a middleweight, good middle action fighter. You know who else I forgot to mention? Iran the Blade Barkley always was in. He fought Michael Alajade, and that was
and he owned Thomas Hearns too.
Beat him twice.
That first time, he was looking at his shoes when he
did this. He did this, Anthony, and then he just winged the punch, and he caught him. Hearns was on the verge of TKOing him because Iran Barkley's eyes were all swollen and bleeding, and he looked down and he winged an overhand right. He beat Tommy Hearns twice. Holy crap. There's so many. Walk down memory lane is awesome.
Barkley was a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Though.
I'll tell you a favorite fight of mine. And then I love to watch this fight every once in a while on YouTube. Roberto Duran, Davey Moore, Madison Square Garden. You want to talk about and unfortunately on the undercard, Billy Resto, Louis Resto and Billy the Kid Collins.
Yeah,
And
with the padding and the
they took,
gloves,
and that is one of
Panama
the most
Brown.
horrible incidents in boxing. Just horrible. It's it's
And Brown to this day denies he had anything. He didn't do anything.
oh, they did it. They
And
did
they
it.
said Collins' manager said when he came up to shake Resto's hands, he's like, I felt
I felt his
knuckles.
knuckles. I felt they took the
Yeah.
padding off. Now that would never happen in this day and age. After because I don't know how it happened even then. That was so hard. But that has to be one of my all-time favorite fights to watch on YouTube. Just Roberto Duran dismantling Davey and mugging him. That was a mugging in that ring. And Duran with a total disdain, just disdain for Davey Moore. Then the other one, he fights Iran Barkley 8 years later, whatever, 10. And that was his good friend, and he beat Barkley in a huge upset for the middleweight. So you can tell him I like Roberto Duran too. But a
Now
lot
he's
of
he's got his personality leaves a little to be desired, but he's a hell of a fighter for sure.
they talk about when I did my little Alexis Arguello Duran title about
We
what if,
didn't even talk about Alexis.
and I like him too. There's so many.
And another good TV fighter, Aaron Pryor.
Oh, Aaron, the Hawk,
Yeah.
the Hawk. You know who else was a good TV? Now, see, I'm going. Junior welterweights actually had a Billy Costello out of upstate New York was a good TV fighter.
Troy Dorsey.
Troy Dorsey out of Texas, who was a kickboxer.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That was a bad decision. He beat Paez. That fight, he definitely. It was close, but I thought he beat Paez. So that's not a horrible decision, but yeah.
Really all Dorsey. Dorsey was kind of like Anafermo. He just swarm you,
Oh
but
yeah,
he
and he
didn't have
just
a
threw
lot of
punches.
power.
Oh, how about this? How about you remember a lightweight from South Africa, Holiday? I can't think of his first name, but I think Shane Mosley beat him for the title. Philip Holiday? Is it Philip Holiday? He was a fun fighter to watch. Mike, I'll tell you what, Mike Weaver had some fun fights. Late 70s, early mid 80s. I remember when he knocked out, again, because I love boxing, Carl the Truth Williams had come off a good fight with Larry Holmes and lost, right? And he wins a couple, he takes some time off. Now trying to build him up again. Well, we'll fight, Mike Weaver. He stands still. We can hit him all day with the jab, yada. And he's got Weaver pinned on the ropes, and Weaver throws a boom, and the fight is over. And then Weaver gets knocked out by Bone Crusher Smith, which in turn got Bone Crusher Smith his title shot versus Terrible Tim Withers.
Best stare down in boxing, by the way.
Oh, he had Bone Crusher, because he could do that thing with his. I can't do it, but the eyes.
He'd be like,
Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So,
it was
so much.
creepy.
Oh my God, lots of fun, Anthony. Oh God.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again, and definitely have to get P-Dub on too.
Log Acta says Philip James Holiday. Yes, so I was right with the name. He was out of South Africa, white South African lightweight action fight. I want to say lightweight. Maybe it was junior lightweight, but he was a good fighter. Action, I mean, like an action guy. I mean, there's so many good Mexican. We didn't even bring up Manny Pacquiao for action fighters. I remember the first time, and we'll call a stream quickly. The first time I seen Manny Pacquiao fight. Okay, I'll tell you too. Manny Pacquiao. First time I seen him fight was from the Philippines on Telemundo. They packed not even a stadium. It was a park, and he was fighting. It's when he was like real lightweight, and he was fighting. They packed like 100,000 people in there. It was a good fight, and he ended up knocking the guy out. And then the other guy I saw, and I knew he was going to be very good, was Felix Trinidad. First time I saw him fighting, he was fighting an 8-rounder, again on Telemundo, and I want to say it was against Jake Cruz. That name, Anthony might remember. Probably no one else in the chat's going to know that guy, who was a good, solid fighter. And you just watched the guy, and I turned to my dad, and I was like, this kid's so smooth. He's just smooth, and he hit pretty good, and lots of good fighters.
Another good action fighter, Nigel Benn.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you,
And his fight with
Michael
McClellan.
Watson, his fight with Michael Watson, that was his first fight he fought, his first fight he lost. That was in England. It was a huge fight in England. I got to watch that live on NBC. That was such a big fight. No championship involved, except I think the British, possibly if I look it up, might have been the British Commonwealth Middleweight Championship or something like that. And Bent was just coming out, and he had knocked everybody out, And Michael Watson just stayed in the pocket, moved a little bit, hands up, and would just constantly hit him coming in and dig to the body. And by the sixth, I think it was the sixth round, when Michael Watson stopped him. I always liked Michael Watson. I like Nigel Benn too. Nigel Benn, action fighter. I think that's important. You don't want to see anyone get hurt, but it's boxing. People want to see action. And a thing with Floyd Mayweather Jr., who's absolutely great, okay, not deny. How many fights did you sit there and go, oh, I'm glad I watched that? He was just so good. It's not his fault. It's just he's so good. He did what he had to do to win. I don't blame him for fighting that way, But what I say to that is Ali could sit down on his punches. Go back and look at fights. He could sit down on his punches when he had to. I'm sure Mayweather could too, but there was no need for him to do it.
Well, you look at Mayweather early in his career. He sat down on his punches a lot more than he did over the second half.
Now maybe again, I'll think it out logically. As he went up in weight, why take Why take the risks? That's probably it. You're right, because he had some good fights at lightweight with Mexican fighter that escapes my mind now. So, as What's Blazing in Sports says, early Floyd Mayweather was aggressive. Yep.
I think with Floyd, though, he's able to dictate how fights go, and he finally decided, I don't have to take punishment, so why should I?
Yeah. And then John St. Petit.
We talked about his earlier. His movement was just so subtle and quick and good at anticipating.
Oh my! You know what? They're bringing up some really fun weight classes, and bless you. John St. Petit says, "I'll take bantamweight fights over any other weight class any day." And we talked about Jeff Chandler,
Orlando Canizales,
and then there's brother Gabby.
Started at bantamweight.
Yep, and Gabby, I believe, his brother started at bantamweight, I believe. A lot of and then someone brings up flyweights. Do you remember Michael Carbajal? And there was a fighter.
Sorry, my voice is still recovering now. Sorry.
We'll answer. Well, I'm sorry. Do you remember Michael Carbajal fights with Gonzalez? I think it was.
No, it was Humberto Gonzalez.
Those were unbelievable at flyweight. Talk about those guys killed each other.
Carvajal's a local guy here. They still have a gym, I think, downtown Phoenix.
He was. I told you, someone put flyweights in the thing, and that's the first thing I thought of was those fights. There's so many, as Bobby says, bless you when you sneezed. So many fun fights. Oh, a lot of boxing fans here tonight. I didn't realize we had so many. John St. Petit brings up. I'll tell you again, a fun fight, and this is when Barry McGuigan, bless you, when Barry McGuigan won the title, he beat Eusebio Pedrosa in Belfast, I believe, or in Ireland. I want to say Belfast. I could be wrong because the champ Pedrosa got paid more money to go there, and he dropped Eusebio Pedrosa, knocked him down, wins the decision. I had to work that. I busboyed. Very similar to you, Anthony. When you're saying certain things, I kind of giggle. I did that. And I'm busboying for the deli across the street from my house, right? And I'm like, oh, I want to watch the fight so bad. It was a Saturday, right? And my boss says, listen, I'll let you go home and watch the fight. Then we got busy, right? I mean, busier than normal. We were always busy. And I'm like, you know what, Benny, don't worry about it. I'll stay here. He goes, you know what? Your dad's got that radio still. Because him and my dad, he goes, the one that picks up, like this old-fashioned radio, you could pick up TV stations, okay? And I listened to the fight, the TV call, as I'm busboying. You never seen someone clean tables so fast, Anthony, to get back where I had to listen to that fight, in between. Oh, man, it was so much fun. Belfast is Northern Ireland. Yes, it is. Yes. And I think the fight was in Belfast, if I looked it up. I know it was not in the U.S. I know it was not in. I want to say, but Eusebio was from Panama, so I knew it wasn't that. And on that note, we've kept Anthony way too long. So, Anthony.
Oh, the missus wants to say hi too.
Hello, Mrs. Bleacher Bums Gaming.
She's shy. There she is.
That's a. Hello, thank you for letting me borrow Anthony. I apologize.
She's catching up on Game of
Thrones. So, Anthony, thank you very much.
It's a lot of fun.
Let's do this again. We could do it every couple of weeks, once a week. We could do it every day. I know that'd be a bit too much, but lots of fun. So, Anthony, tell us on the way out about your channel and about Anthony's developed Glory Days Boxing coming out in May. And it's on target. So I'll let Anthony.
Cards have gone to the printer for the first production run this week. And so I should have those back hopefully by the beginning of next week. And once they're done, that's the toughest part. I'll do kind of a little reveal and show the cards and maybe do a preview of the Anthony Joshua Jarrell Miller fight. And then hopefully from that point, just a couple of weeks to release.
Awesome. And you know what I forgot to do? And I'm going to do it now. I'm putting a link of Anthony's channel in the chat. I forgot to do that earlier. And again, you just have to go. Anthony had typed in the chat. So if you're watching a little later, all you have to do is go to Anthony's name and the 3 buttons pop up and you just go to his channel. But I'm going to put the link in right now. Bear with me a moment before we go off air. And then I'm going to say thank you to all the great people who joined us in the chat.
And of course, hold on. We got to. Mike always has to get this in every chat.
Okay. Let me get your.
I have to respond.
I didn't see what he said because I'm grabbing your channel link right now.
We have the Utah BYU rivalry going.
Oh yes. You're right. You missed your Utah Mike. Another fun channel, Sports Time Machine. All right, let me just get this up here. This is Anthony's YouTube channel, Bleacher Bums Gaming. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Wonderful channel. And you actually can just, as Anthony, I did just type in, so you can also go to his name. Oh, I want to say thank you to Sports Time Machine. Please subscribe to that channel. What's Blazing in Sports? Wonderful, wonderful boxing channel. John St. Baptiste, another wonderful channel in the FOC, Friends of the Community. All things music and much more. Bobby Cantilano, big fan and contributor to FOC, Friends of the Community. We had D. Scott Howard in the chat.
I need to tell Bobby I'm also a big fan of the Hound too.
Yes, we all like the Hound. Barry Chase, Itinerant Hobbyist, another wonderful channel. AU Pack Mule, another great channel. All FOC members, and that's just friends of the channel. Comics with Bueller, how you feeling, buddy? Another wonderful channel. Bubba Husky, great contributor. It's only going to let me scroll up so far. D. Scott Howard, as I said, the original Grognard, Clinton Parks, Tribes fan. JD, The Book of Festus, Kyle. Will W. Vogs, and Danny N. Cards, Grays, and Toys, and the Cubs, the Bears. And I'll leave you with the Cubs, the Bears. Early on, he said, great, been waiting to learn more about Glory Days Boxing. It's going to be an absolutely wonderful game, as I was lucky enough to play the beta test. It's marvelous. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Again, if you have not subscribed to members of the FOC, please do so. And subscribe back. So take care. Watch out for that big left hook. Overhand right. Keep your hands up. Slide side to side. Roll with the punches. God bless, health, and happiness. You know what's coming, folks. Peace.